today's world.
Hey there everyone, and welcome back to the Comics Crusade for the first week of July. I'm hoping that everyone got their dose of barbecued food for the 4th of July, by the way. Before we get into this week's books, let me say that some people will probably be a little bit surprised by this video. Wouldn't surprise me if I get called out for my opinions by other people who make videos as well. And I expect some detractors, but that's fine. Those things are good for entertainment, and to be honest, the world would be boring if we all agreed on everything. So, what I would just ask for those of you, if you get upset at something I say, please just hear me out first before you start throwing names around, because at the end of the day, these are just comic books. It's not like I'm discussing my eventual takeover of the world. Anyway, let me say that I'm fully conscious that Captain America #1 by Ta-Nehisi Coates came out this week. Though my boycott on Marvel did not stand, my boycott on that book does. I think it's freaking insulting for Marvel to have an America-hating race baiter like Ta-Nehisi Coates have his first issue of Captain America come out on Independence Day. So, by issue of principle alone, I am saying do not buy Captain America by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Make that book sink. Or, I would recommend politely, emphasis on that, emailing Marvel at mheroes@marvel.com, just like they say in the editor's pages, and let them know why you think this situation was a bit insulting. So, let's get to the reviews. Batman #50. Yeah, I'm leading off with the good stuff this week. Now, I already did a video about the New York Times spoiling this book, so let me say this. The book really isn't worth a purchase unless you're a collector first, or second, you really like Tom King's writing, and the second one would be me. So, I'm glad I own the book. On top of that, if you don't want a twist spoiled for you, skip ahead about 15 seconds, because I need to talk about this before I can say exactly why I'm actually happy with the direction that the book is going in. Bane orchestrated the destruction of Batman and Selina's relationship. He broke Batman again, and all of Gotham's villains are in on it. Now, I love this twist. I absolutely love it. Between Bane's statements in Bane Conquest that Gotham is his by right of blood, and Tom King's excellent arcs of I Am Suicide and I Am Bane, I'm loving the fact that Tom King apparently has a plan for the series all the way up to issue number 100. He is a mad lad, and I absolutely love him for it. Now, here's the thing. I've seen some people say that they're quitting the book now, or it's a slap in the face, and were pretty emotional when they saw this marriage broken up. Now, just a criticism, constructive in my opinion. To quote Hulk Hogan, you kind of worked yourself into a shoot, brother. I tend to laugh at these sorts of extreme and purely emotional reactions when I see them, not because of Schadenfreude, mind you. There's some people that I love to death who have had these reactions, and it's all good, man. The reason I'm entertained by them, the reason I like seeing them, is because that's the kind of reactions you want from a crowd as a writer. It's a mark of investment. At some point, even if they do quit reading the book, that fan is going to have to admit that you as the writer had them by the heartstrings, and you made them care deeply about someone or something that doesn't exist. Tom King is a damn good writer, and his Batman is the best one since Chuck Dixon. I honestly don't think that many people are going to drop this book either. But here's the thing. If you skip this month, feel free. That's fine. But what I am saying as somebody who did buy it is that in the future, business is going to pick up. Catwoman #1. Honestly, I didn't know much about Joelle Jones coming into this comic, aside from the fact that she's a talented artist and the young lady is very easy on the eyes. I've never read anything she's written, though, so I went into this one as a bit of a blank slate. And I wasn't disappointed. What I got was a fun book. The general gist of things is that Selina is being framed up as a cop killer by a corrupt and incredibly grotesque, elitist wife of a politician, for reasons that I imagine are going to be explained further down the line. Selina herself is getting away from Gotham and feeling quite heartbroken about the decision that she had made, going over the fact that she had never slept and so on and so forth since she left Gotham. She's also sort of, delving into vices and gambling and whatnot. There's one particular bit in this book where her reaction to seeing a letter from Alfred of them returning her costume that really broke her down, that I just was very happy to see. Loved the way that it was put together, and I love this woman's art style in general as well. Heck, I just like the concept of this. The idea that Selina goes into sort of a thrill-seeking or satisfying of vices mode to cope with what she's realizing is a mistake. It fits. The art has a great sense of motion, too, that I honestly don't see enough of in modern books. There's also something about the color choice that feels really retro with the way that this is inked, almost like a 1980s feel. I was just impressed overall. I recommend the book. I don't think it's genius necessarily, like some people have said, but it's good. It's fun, and I definitely don't feel like my money was wasted or my time. Right now, between Batman, Detective Comics, Red Hood and the Outlaws, Catwoman, and Deathstroke, I think that DC Comics honestly has a much stronger street-level line than Marvel does. Speaking of Deathstroke number 33. We don't deserve Christopher Priest. He is too good for this world, man. Now, I'm a little bit biased because he's one of my favorite comic writers ever, but this is a man that set the foundation for Black Panther to be as huge of a character as he is today. Hell, the film took a lot of ideas from the first 2 arcs of Priest's run, and the humor was really similar too. Deathstroke takes an obviously darker tone than Panther, but is still quite a bit of fun to read, especially this issue. If you think that Damian Wayne is a try-hard little punk of a character, this whole comic is dedicated to Deathstroke screwing with him. It's great. The basic premise is that Damian is having an identity crisis because Deathstroke could be his biological father instead of Bruce, because apparently he banged Talia al Ghul too. But really, the story's about everyone screwing with one another, this whole Deathstroke versus Batman arc. And everyone's trying to one-up one another. So it's most likely not true that Damian is Deathstroke's son. Now, the two try to complete a mission together, and it just goes crazy. And this is why I love Priest so much. The madness of the story, and how it digs at the identity and motivations of each character, is why it's so damn fun to read. You don't know who is going to shut who down, and when it's going to happen, and how it's going to happen. You know what? I want this run as an HBO series. Definite recommendation. In fact, pick up every single issue of this run of Deathstroke right now. Man of Steel number 6. Now, were you looking for rants today? Look no further! Do you have your shooting liquor of choice ready? Awesome, because I'm aiming for your liver, my friend. When I finished the final issue of Man of Steel, I expected at least some sense of closure. I expected that the plot lines that were set up in issue number 1 would be resolved by issue number 6, if nothing else. I've been told that I don't give Bendis enough credit because Bendis. I gave Bendis too much credit. The only thing that gets resolved in this comic is that Lois and Superboy are off on a space vacation with Jor-El, and we had all that drama for nothing. The big reveal is the big dumb-looking villain broke the communicator, so we don't know when they're coming back. A summer vacation, possibly with no end. Oh, thanks for the nothing burger, Brian. You want to know the real motivation of the dumb-looking villain? It's not happening. You're not going to get it. Because Bendis. He got thrown into the Phantom Zone. Do you want to know what was going on with the redhead fire chief in the fires? Some random kid says Superman did it. You have to read more Bendis to find out! Why? Because Bendis. You're going to walk away from this comic feeling like you ate an air sandwich. Because Bendis. There is nothing enjoyable about this issue aside from the art. Because Bendis. By and large, this book was a giant advertisement for Superman by Bendis because Bendis. Here's the problem. This is like kicking someone in the nuts and expecting them to like you, Brian. I'm not into that, my friend. I'm sorry. By the way, did I tell you that I didn't recommend this book? Yeah, don't buy it. In fact, I wish I had a helicopter. Right now. Seriously, I wish I had a helicopter so I could Pinochet this freaking comic. Seriously. Justice League number 3. This is going to be a bit shorter. In fact, a lot of the books from this point on in the video are going to be pretty quick hits, just because there's not really that much in-depth to say on them, because I've already addressed the book in the past. Anyway, Scott Snyder's Justice League is crazy, and that's the fun of it. It's complete chaos. The man is clearly on acid and it's fun as hell. Granted, that's what I expect out of a Scott Snyder comic. It's going to be dark. It's going to be goofy. There's going to be MacGuffins. And it's going to be insane. I didn't think it worked well for Batman, but it worked well with his Swamp Thing, and it works well here as well. The basic idea is that there's a giant monster MacGuffin that's threatening to destroy everything, and Sinestro is basically his avatar in making things terrible. Plus, the Legion of Doom are waiting in the shadows, preparing to screw up everything, and the tension is something you could cut with a knife, and I love it! It's fun. Complete recommendation. I have nothing else to say. Let's move on. Avengers number 4. Speaking of fun team books, I wasn't really sure whether or not I could dig the whole idea of these very first Avengers, or Avengers BC, when it came out to be a part of the next direction for this book. But Jason Aaron really is putting in some great work with everything, especially in this idea of setting up how this new team of Avengers is going to take care of the threat of the Celestials. Possibly. I also love how Loki is completely dead set on the idea of helping said Celestials, because apparently they and the Eternals, they being humanity, were a mistake of the Celestials or something along those lines. And I imagine it's going to be expanded more as time goes on, but everything is getting intense and I like it quite a bit. Not to mention, the art by Ed McGuinness is perfect for the over-the-top, high-octane action that the book is putting together, and the colorist is doing a fantastic job as well. All around, a recommended book from me still. Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider number 21. Here's the sleeper. So, I have never talked about it, but Peter David is working for Marvel still, on this particular book. Yeah, it's really gone under the radar. Oddly enough, it's actually a fun little comic. It's not exactly world-changing or anything like that, but throughout its run, Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider has been this nice little comic to enjoy as another part of the Spider-Man family. You've got Ben Reilly, you've got Kane, the other Scarlet Spider, the Slingers have made a return, and so forth. In a way, I see it sort of like how Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps is formatted as compared to Green Lanterns. Do you want a book that's written old school style with older characters, as opposed to the way that Dan Slott and then later on, what's-him-face, Mr. White Guilt is going to write it? Well, this book is the book for you then. In this particular issue, Ben Reilly finds himself in a fight with Sauron while trying to save a doctor who has done research that could save a little girl's life. The same little girl that Ben said that he would save at the beginning of this little saga. One thing I love is when Peter David writes a book and he doesn't take himself that seriously, it's oftentimes great fun. Another recommendation from me, and another one where I would actually recommend going back and buying all the back issues too. This run has honestly been a ton of fun. Hunt for Wolverine, Weapon Lost, number 3. I'm going to try to get through this quick. Daredevil fights clone Cyborg Wolverine. Clone Cyborg Wolverine loses the fight. Then they continue the hunt only for it to end in a big explosion. So, let me say this. If you like Charles Soule's Daredevil, you're going to like the book. If not, give it a pass and you're not going to miss anything. Immortal Hulk, number 2. I didn't expect to enjoy the Immortal Hulk. Hulk as a horror story? Sort of like Swamp Thing? It could work, but it wouldn't be easy to pull off. But, oddly enough, this comic is actually pretty good. It's interesting to see Bruce Banner struggle with whether or not he wants the world to know that he's alive again. And there's this also just neat running theme about personal responsibility and morality that I enjoy, in the sense that if you do wrong in this universe, if the Hulk's around, he's going to find out and you're going to pay for it. Basically, this idea of this giant green-eyed monster that's sort of waiting in the wings, and if you sin, you could be a dead man. So, I don't know, there's something about that that just resonates with me. It might not resonate with other people, but it definitely resonates with me. Now, it hasn't hit an actual story arc yet, not in any real sense. The first 2 issues are just standalones. I say pick this book up if you're a Hulk fan, because you might dig the vibe of it. If you're not a fan of the Incredible Hulk, though, and I mean old Hulk, not, as my boy Zach would say, Go-Gurt Hulk, I couldn't recommend it. You sort of have to understand the character of the Hulk before you can get into this book, to say the least. Now, if you want some Hulk introduction recommendations, my first thing is look up the Peter David run. It's great. So, to close this out, not really a bad week in comic books from the big two. But before we draw this one to a close, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so you're going to know every time a new video pops up or a live stream. If for some reason that the notifications aren't showing up and you do love the channel, just go ahead and bookmark it and just check back daily to see if I've updated with anything. If you could, consider becoming a patron as well. Patronage means that any book that you recommend to me will be put into a Comics Crusade for review, provided you're a $5 or more patron. And also provided that you're recommending an actual comic book. Alright folks, that is all I have to say. My name is Micah Curtis, and welcome to my crusade. Deus Vult.